camera. For the committee, the time is yours. Thank you to the attendees and committee members on duty. The next series of events is the greetings. The first greetings will be delivered by Chief Executive of International Conference on Language and Culture 2021. For Ms. Bettina Villa, the time is yours.
Thank you for the Mistress of Ceremony. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, everyone. Honorable the Dean of Language and Art Faculty, respectable Vice Dean of Languages and Art Faculty, respectable for all of the speakers, respectable for all of the head departments, committee, and my beloved participants who attend this occasion. Firstly, let's thanks to our God who has been giving us mercies and blessings so we can gather here without any obstacles. As we know that this is the first international conference that held by our faculty, languages and art faculty. And I hope that we can enjoy this conference and get more new knowledge about language and culture. Don't hesitate to ask the question to all of the speakers. And I want to say thank you very much to all of the participants who joined this meeting now, because we are nothing without your participation. For all the committee and also the lecturers who preparing this event, I want to say thank you very much, because I know that it's not easy to organize this big event at the first time. I know that you are amazing. Hope you enjoy this conference and thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Ms. Fatty Nabila. And the next one is greetings from the Vice Dean Student Affairs and Alumni of Faculty Languages and Arts, Mr. Shafiul Anam, PhD, who will open the ICLC event this afternoon. For Mr. Shafiul Anam, PhD, the time is yours.
Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Let me say hello to all the speakers, the keynote speaker, Mr. David Hilton, Mr. Marcos Scherble, and then Bu Felicia Nuradi, and also Pak Ali Mustafa. I would like to say thank you very much to all the speakers for your willingness to share your time, to share your knowledge and also maybe experience with all the participants in this international conference. I also highly appreciate the organizing committee, the students, because this international conference is run by the student union of the Faculty of Languages and Art. So I really appreciate your effort. You did a very good job, because this is the first time organizing international conference. As the chair of the committee said that this is a big challenge for them, and you did a good job. I really appreciate it. And this international conference is actually a series of events to celebrate the anniversary of the State University of Surabaya or UNESA, or the Trisnadas of UNESA. There are a lot of events have been held by UNESA, one of which is this ICLC. And I do expect that this conference, international conference, will be a good platform to share knowledge and also new insight, culture, language, literature, and also design, all covered here, because the Faculty of Language and Arts cover all those fields of study. So I expect that all of you will be actively engaged in the discussion after the presentation of the speakers. Have fruitful discussion in the Q&A session in the seminar. Happy conferencing, and Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Shafiul Anam, PhD, for the greetings and also open this event. Next is the documentation session of this event. For the participants and all of the audiences, please turn on your camera and we will start the documentation session. Okay, for the first slide, I will count it. 1, 2, 3, say cheese. Okay, the next slide, again. 1, 2, 3, cheese. Okay, the next slide. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Okay, give you the best pose. Okay, next. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Okay, the last one. 1, 2, 3. Cheese. Okay, thank you for your best pose on this documentation session. Entering the main event, namely the presentation of the International Conference on Language and Culture, or ICLC 2021, with the theme Strengthening Language, Literature, and Art in Digital Era. And immediately, the next event will be guided by my partner as a moderator. The first moderator is Mr. Lutfi Saksono, and the second moderator is Mrs. Lina Purwaning Hartanti. For the first moderator, Mr. Lutfi Saksono, the time is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mbak Lintang. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Lutfi, can you unmute?
I'm sorry.
Okay. Excuse me. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Lutfi Saksono, the moderator of today's seminar. I'm very pleased to see you here and welcome all of you to this seminar. Today's seminar is about language, literature, and culture. Ladies and gentlemen, our speakers in the first session are Markus Scherble from Germany and Ibu Felicia Nuradi Utorodewo from Universitas Indonesia. Pak Markus, guten Tag.
Waalaikumsalam. Hello, I'm here.
Hallo. Guten Tag, wie geht's?
Gut, nee, nicht gut. Ich bin 3 Tage krank.
Oh my God.
Aber ich bin hier.
Oh, ja. Oke, Pak Markus sedang sakit ternyata ya. Oke, aber wir freuen uns, dass Sie an diesem Seminar teilnehmen können. Gute Besserung, Pak Markus. Aber ja, wir bedanken uns, dass Sie schon bei uns sind. Okay, good. Before the presentation begins, let me inform how the presentation will be going on. First, Pak Markus Scherble will be invited to present the material. After that, our second speaker, Ibu Felicia Nuradi Utorodewo, will deliver her presentation. And then there will be question and answer session. And our first speaker, Markus Scherble from Germany, and now as the AAD lecturer. The AAD is Deutsche Akademische Austauschdienst or German Academic Exchange Service. Now, Pak Markus as the AAD lecturer at Universitas Pajajaran. Wie lange bleiben Sie schon in Bandung?
3 Jahre bin ich schon hier.
Drei Jahre.
Und 2 Jahre noch. Genau.
Okay, gut. Das bedeutet, Sie können schon auch Sundanisch sprechen, ja?
Oh, sedikit.
Kumaha damang?
Sundanesisch lerne ich noch nicht.
Okay, baik, Pak Markus studied Slavic languages and literature, German as a foreign language, and then comparative literature at 3 universities, yeah? University of Bonn, and then University of Prague, and University of Potsdam. Okay, so das ist sehr wunderschön, glaube ich. War das nicht schwierig, an den 3 Universitäten zu studieren?
Im Grunde könnte man sagen, erst Sato in Bonn, dann ein Auslandsjahr in Czech Republic und dann S2 in Potsdam.
Okay.
Das war okay.
Okay. Yeah. Good. And then now allow me to welcome our first speaker, Marcus Scherble, to deliver his presentation. Pak Marcus, time is yours.
May I share my screen?
Okay.
Okay, so as Paludri already told you, my name is Marcus. I have to apologize to you. I have been sick for 3 days and I still have difficulty speaking. I don't know, I have a flu and I could not sleep at night. As I said, I have difficulty speaking. Sometimes my voice is gone. I believe it is not COVID because I don't have any of the typical symptoms and I have no pain, but simply my voice sometimes is gone. I hope you can understand me.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you very much for having me. I'm happy to be here. Thank you in particular, Ajeng, for inviting me. It's a pleasure for me to be here. The topic today is embracing strangeness, a plea for more orality in language teaching. All right, now, today, this is about many Indonesian students of the German language. They're struggling to speak German. And I want to give you some indication, a couple of reasons, consequences, and remedies. When students here at UNPAD, and I know it is similar in different universities across Indonesia, when they learn German, the language remains strange. Students learn to fill out forms in a workbook, but they do not become familiar with speaking the language. When they have to speak with a friend for 15 minutes, for example, in an oral exam, they need to look at their notes. So the language sort of remains strange to them. And now I'll give you a number of reasons, possible reasons. There are countries with a predominantly oral tradition, also performative tradition, and Indonesia is a typical example. And there are countries where written tradition is much more predominant. And of course, this has impact. Yeah, for example, in Germany, you can talk a lot, but it doesn't really matter what we writing down in a contract. This is what matters. We're terrible people. And here in Indonesia, it's the other way around. You can write a lot, but doesn't mean very much. What you tell someone and look them in the eye, this is what matters. Yeah, so that's really a huge difference. It doesn't necessarily have to do with continents. Yeah, for example, China is also rather a country with a written tradition. The possible danger is now Indonesians who want to learn German, they are terrified by all this written thing, and there might be a tendency to overemphasize written German. Then, next reason, there is this oversimplifying assumption. Indonesian is so easy and German is so difficult. And of course, that's not the case. In every language, we must be able to convey any meaning we want for any situation. Yeah, and if there are certain grammar structures that do exist in German and you don't have them in Indonesian, that means you must find other ways to convey the meaning. And this is by no means less difficult, I can assure you, as a learner of your language. Again, there's a possible danger. You think German is so difficult, and your teachers think that. There may be risk to overemphasize grammar instruction because you think speaking is what I can do. I need grammar. Next thing, in Germany, our orthography is strongly regulated. In the German phonology and pronunciation, much less so. There is again a possible danger to overemphasize the rules of written German and to underestimate that there are phonological conventions as well. They may not be rules, but they are conventions. It's what many people do. Yeah, so call it a rule or call it a convention, doesn't matter. And the end is we stick to that. Yeah, so it's worth knowing it. Another misconception is about dialects. You know that in Germany, just as in Indonesia, there are many dialects. And now some Indonesians, when they learn German or teach German, seem to be thinking, well, every German speaks a different dialect, so why should we focus just on one standard variant of the German language? Doesn't make sense. Yeah, but we also have to keep in mind there is a German standard, and most Germans do not speak dialect. It's just that if you listen to them closely, you can hear where they're coming from. But basically, they're speaking a standard variant of German language, and they give it some touch where you can feel, oh, that guy must be from Bavaria. I think that woman is Saxony, and so on. Another reason teachers at some point may resign. They may think, my own pronunciation of German isn't good. I better don't teach that myself, so I don't teach anything wrong to my students. And my students can learn it later on, maybe in semester 3, at Unpart, when Marcus takes over class, or later on after their studies when they go to Germany, or from a native speaker who they may know or not, or from a YouTube tutorial or what, or in a separate pronunciation course. We offer that. But this is not going to work. Yeah, if you look here at the bottom of the screen, if you have 8 SKS of pronunciation that is suboptimal, and then 2 SKS of trying to make up for it and give this some spin into the direction of better German, this is not remotely enough. And in particular not if these 2 SKS are taught by someone like me, who's just a guest in this country. And these are the teachers that matter. Yeah, so you see, if this impact is strong, then this is not enough to make up for it. Next thing, and I would love to speak about this in a lot more detail, but we don't have the time. This is the course book, German as a Foreign Language, which is widely in use here in Indonesia. It's pretty good when it comes to vocabulary and grammar, but it's poor if it comes to speaking and pronunciation exercises. It does not have a good concept to convey these things. And basically, this is going to be at the heart of an article that I'm preparing to do. I have gathered so much evidence throughout this book, how these things, excuse me, how these things are not done well. Here, unfortunately, you've given me only 20 minutes, so I have to skip it here. And I'm assuming that most of you do not speak German anyway, yeah? So this part may actually not be interesting for you. Yeah. Okay, so we go on. Next reason, there's a lack of good language learning habits. students are supposed to develop learner autonomy so that they can self-teach the language. And I think we teachers cannot offer enough help on this matter. And there is more, much more. Yeah, for example, colleagues of mine tend to think there is a concept of shyness in Asian cultures that makes it difficult, more difficult from a learner from Indonesia than, say, for a learner from the USA to start speaking in a different language. Yeah, there may indeed be cultural concepts like that. Yeah, so if I'm a US American, I may speak German. I might just try to do it. And maybe the Indonesian learner is a little bit more careful and waits until things have settled. Or another reason might be, for example, gender education. Yeah, traditionally in many countries of the world, men are encouraged to speak up and women may be encouraged to slow down a bit and not be in the foreground. I don't know how much this is still the case in Indonesia today. I think these differences are becoming smaller and smaller. God bless. They may still be there. So you see, there may be a couple of reasons, not just one. And these are strong reasons. What are the consequences? When students learn German as a foreign language, they perceive our language as predominantly written. They perceive written German as an authority. They're confronted with written German. They develop no confidence speaking. And even if they're doing audio exercises in the book that I just discussed with you, Netzwerk, they still need to look at written text. Could be the book, could be their notes, or could be the screen if it's in a Zoom meeting when they speak. So, as I told you already in the beginning, they learn to fill out forms in a workbook, and depending on their motivation and their willingness to deal with grammar, they might do it even well, but they do not become really familiar with the language. They do not embrace it. They do not really accept it. They do not find an emotional entrance to the language. So the German language remains strange in a way. It does not become something students are familiar with. And now I would like to demonstrate a couple remedies, because gladly there are some remedies. There's this prejudice that pronunciation is phonetics and phonetics is not fun. That may or may not be true. However, even if that's the case, I shall remind everyone, phonetics and phonology is not the same. There are different uses of the terminology. For example, in the US and in German, you find different usage. What I mean here is phonetics as the mechanical way of how to produce a sound. What does my tongue do? Yeah, so I give my tongue the command, move up and stay there and keep breathing. Yeah, stuff like that. This is the sphere of phonetics. And that's not fun, not for an adult. It can be a torture, really. Yeah, for children, this is easy. They do it naturally and automatically. And there's no need to teach them. They can just imitate. For us adults, it's much more difficult. And that also means for us as teachers of the language, this can be pretty frustrating to work on, keep your mouth apart and then press your lips down and don't move the tongue and keep breathing.
Like umlaut.
Yeah. And umlaut is just one example of several. So this is pretty stressful and most of the time not even successful. This is the sphere of phonetics. And as a teacher, I began hating it because I've been putting time and effort into it and I've seen no success. My students aren't getting it. However, when I shift focus from phonetics away to phonology, things are different. So what is phonology? Phonology has nothing to do with how we produce the sound. Phonology is good rules of thumb to produce which sound. And I give you one example. This is a typical barrier for people who want to learn German, our letter R. If it's in the beginning of the syllable, we speak it as a consonant. And then it's called, this one here in English means red, yeah, merach. It means rot, rot. And this R is exactly the same as in the Indonesian word akhir. So you Indonesians, you can do that. You can pronounce that. It's no problem. You just need to know when to do it. Yeah, we're no longer in the sphere of what difficult ways must I send my tongue and lips in my mouth. It's just the knowledge which I can gain intellectually and absorb. When do I use it? Because I can use it. It's not difficult. And say akhir, then I can also say rot. Yeah, if I'm teaching this to my students, for example, I might say something like, another example would be the sound ts. Yeah, Indonesians first think they can't do that, but they can. It's easy for you all to say, it's a boy. You can do that. It's a boy. And now we're narrowing it down. It's a. It's. So you can do that. Yeah, if you isolate these sounds into smaller steps, you can do that. It's not difficult. And at the end of the syllable, we pronounce r as a vowel. It's a short ah, tor. So it's not tor, and it's not tor, it's tor. So all an Indonesian learner needs to know is, here this is a r, a consonant, and here this is an ah, a vowel. This is not difficult to understand. Not at all, just needs practice. Okay, another remedy, use Netzwerk. It's good. And there's a company here in Indonesia, Catalyst, a working connection, a working relationship with the German publishing house that does that. So students get discounts. As I said, it's a good book if it comes to grammar and vocabulary and all things, but no book is perfect. Every book has some shortcomings. We must know them and we must deal with them. And we, as teachers, we must provide workarounds. This would be something for the head of your departments at the Indonesian universities. If your curriculum in semester 1 allows it, my suggestion to you would be open up with 2 weeks of joyful German language speaking imitation. Just imagine you're a kid and there is this strange language and you listen to that and you just imitate. You don't understand a word. It's not necessary. Yeah, as I say here, understanding is secondary. Grammar instruction at that point is not really important. It can go hand in hand, no problem. But the focus should not be on reading text from a book. The focus in these first 2 weeks be speaking and listening. And then you can open the book and compare what you're just listening to what you're reading in your book. So you see, there is a relationship between how we speak and how we write. And this is not identical. You need to learn 2 languages, one that we speak and one that we write. And unfortunately, currently, the complete destructive dominance is on written language. And my plea is to look much more into, I say it myself, what a mistake. to hear much more the language, yeah, to put much more emphasis on spoken German. Next, as teachers, we should provide counseling for students. How can they learn the language? What are good language learning techniques? Of course, learning a language is not always fun. We must also do some work. We must learn the words, the vocabulary. Yeah, because if we don't know the words, then we have no tools to use. We have to learn the language in some way. And then if we know enough words, we can begin to speak. We can use these words. But if it comes to learning words, there are more and less effective strategies. And it's our job as teachers to teach students the good techniques. Students have learned stuff at school, but now they are in university. And some of the strategies that you students, I mean, there are many students here, some of the strategies that you students learned at school will no longer help you at university. You must progress. You must improve your learning. And don't be too afraid of grammar mistakes. Yeah, if you're filling out grammar forms in a workbook, it's important. If we're speaking, it's just one aspect of, I don't know, 6 or 7. Yeah, equally important is to keep the conversation going and so on. Next, and this is dear to me, we as language learners should encourage students to develop a love for the sound of spoken German. And if we don't do that, our students will never be able to really enjoy a German YouTube video. They will never understand it. It will always remain strange. Yeah, we should embrace strangeness, and we teachers have to be role models. And at some point, if students imitate the foreign language, the strange language, often enough and with much love and empathy, strangeness will turn into familiarity. And then there is a strange woman or man inside my head that's talking. It's no longer me. It's an enhanced version of myself. It's more than just me. And maybe this is the last slide for today. If you're an Indonesian teacher of German and you think your German is not as good as it could be, don't be shy, ask for support. I'll be here 2 more years and I can help you. I think this is one of the spheres where I confidently can say I know something about. I'm not perfect. Oh, damn it. So far from perfection. But this is something where I think I can offer insights and feedback, and I can set up a training program for you. If you're willing to work over the course of 10 weeks, you as a teacher of German as a foreign language, I think you can make it extremely far in just 10 weeks. I can help you make your German sound German, and then you can pass it on to your students. That's it. I was allowed 20 minutes, so I tried to keep it short and speak 20 minutes.
Thank you very much. It is very interesting for us. Yeah. Okay. From awful learning to joyful learning. Yeah.
I didn't say awful, but you're right.
Yeah. Okay. So for me, German is very, very difficult. So Marcus, I was a German speaking guide in Lombok, and my guests from different region in Germany. And then for people who live in Bayern, they say that German is their first foreign language.
Yeah.
And then, so there are many dialects in German. So maybe you can answer some question, but now we are come to Ibu Felicia, yeah, and then after that Q&A session. Oke, baik. Terima kasih Pak Markus sudah memberikan presentasi yang menarik, yang cukup informatif. Para peserta seminar yang berbahagia, selanjutnya kita akan menyimak pemaparan dari Ibu Felicia Nuradi Utorodewo. Ibu Felicia merupakan dosen linguistik bahasa Indonesia Universitas Indonesia. Beliau lahir di New York, Amerika Serikat, 22 Desember 1953. Beliau pernah sebagai Direktur Simeo Regional Center of Kitab in Language, dan juga pernah sebagai Koordinator Bahasa Indonesia untuk Penutur Asing Fakultas Sastra Universitas Indonesia. Pengalaman beliau cukup banyak, terlibat di berbagai riset, baik yang bekerja sama dengan Australia, ASEAN, dan juga Amerika. Nah, yang akan disampaikan oleh Ibu Felicia hari ini terkait dengan pembelajaran bahasa, sastra, dan seni di era digital saat ini. Kepada yang terhormat Ibu Felicia, kami persilakan.
Baik, terima kasih Pak Lutfi. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Do pardon me because I'm going to present my my paper in Bahasa Indonesia. I do apologize to Pak Markus dan Pak Cliff Helton. I would like to. Ini saya mau pakai saya saja yang.
Oke, baik. Ya, share sendiri ya Bu ya?
Ya.
Oke, baik. Silakan Ibu.
Sudah terlihat?
Sudah? Sudah.
Baik.
Ya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Terima kasih saya ucapkan kepada UNESA yang telah memberikan kesempatan pada saya untuk berbicara. Kali ini saya akan bicara mengenai pengajaran bahasa, sastra, dan seni pada era digital. Ya, saya akan membahas masalah apa yang disebut era digital itu, kuadran ruang belajar sekarang, strategi pembelajaran, bahasa dan sastra. Strategi pembelajaran, bahasa dan sastra, dan kemudian bahasa, sastra, seni pada era digital. Jadi era digital atau masa sekarang ini merupakan jangka waktu yang, kalau kita bicara mengenai era, yaitu jangka waktu yang panjang atau pendek yang bisa menandai suatu peristiwa penting dalam sejarah. Nah, dia juga disebut sebagai, karena digital ya, ini ada era dan digital, yaitu masa yang sudah mengalami perkembangan dalam segala aspek kehidupan menjadi serba digital. Jadi ini kondisi kita sekarang ini, ya, semua kegiatan kita sudah didukung oleh teknologi menjadi lebih mudah dan lebih praktis. Nah, oleh karena itu, sebenarnya konten bahasa, kita berkecimpung di bidang bahasa, konten bahasa menampung semua kompetensi di abad 21 ini. Jadi kita sudah sangat terbantu. Dan literasi dasar dalam kompetensi abad ke-21 yang inti adalah 6 hal ini. Membaca, memahami, memaknai atau literasi dasar, numeral, science, technology, financial, culture, and what do you call it this? Tata negara ya. Lalu kemudian ada kompetensi yang diajarkan. Ini semua ada di dalam bahasa. Berpikir kritis, kreativitas, komunikasi, kolaborasi. Dan kemudian membina keingintahuan dari siswa kita, inisiatif, kegigihan, adaptasi kepemimpinan, kesadaran sosial, dan budaya. Jadi semua hal ini, baik 6 literasi ditambah dengan sisanya yaitu 10 kompetensi dan kualitas karakter ini, semua sudah ada dalam bahasa. Kita tidak perlu terlalu galau ya karena hal ini. Pada pendidikan dasar memang kemampuan yang harus ditekankan adalah kemampuan membaca, tentu mengeja, menulis, menyimak, dan tidak boleh dilupakan juga berhitung ya. Dan kemudian mereka dapat memahami apa yang mereka baca, ya, kemudian mereka dapat memaknai. Memahami itu mengerti, tetapi memaknai berarti mereka bisa menganalisis, mencerna, mengolah, dan sebagainya. Jadi ini hakikat dari literasi yang diberikan pada era ini, ya. Jadi pada saat kita berbicara mengenai literasi atau kita berbicara mengenai, sebetulnya literasi menjadi tiga-tiganya ya, seni, bahasa, dan sastra ya. Pada pendidikan menengah, literasi berarti siswa harus mengakses dan mengambil informasi dari sebuah teks ya. Atau bukan saja teks itu adalah teks yang verbal maupun non-verbal ya. Jadi suatu suasana di mana kita sedang berbicara pun adalah sebuah teks. Makanya oleh Pak Markus sangat ditekankan bahwa kita juga harus mengasah kemampuan menyimak kita, mendengar dan menyimak. Ya, dan kita mampu mencari dan memilih teks yang relevan, kita dapat memahami, kembali lagi dan mengevaluasi dan mencerminkan. Jadi ini tetap merupakan literasi pada pendidikan menengah. Kita sekarang memiliki 4 kuadran bidang belajar, yakni sinkron, kita tatap langsung, sekarang sudah mulai lagi tatap muka, lalu kita ada sinkron yang tatap maya, sekarang pertemuan kita hari ini adalah sinkron tatap maya. Lalu kita punya asinkron mandiri dan asinkron berkolaborasi. Sekarang ini menjadi masalah. Jadi sinkron tatap muka langsung ini harus hati-hati ya karena ada macam-macam hal yang menghalanginya. Jadi kita bisa sinkron artinya bertatap muka langsung bersamaan dan kita sekarang melakukan kegiatan di kuadran ruang belajar kedua. Dan asinkron itu tidak berlangsung pada saat bersamaan. Jadi seperti WA, kita menulis WA, bisa dibalas kapan saja, tidak harus langsung dibalas. Jadi ini arti dari kuadran pertama, kuadran kedua, kuadran ketiga, dan kuadran keempat. Ya, jadi sekarang kita memiliki 4 kuadran untuk berdiskusi pada murid-murid kita. Dan kita memiliki 2 macam strategi pembelajaran. Ada flipped classroom dan ada blended classroom. Kalau flipped classroom, kita bisa tatap muka, lalu bisa tatap maya. Bisa bergantian ya, dan suasananya tidak harus selalu di kelas, bisa di luar kelas. Dan hal ini sangat menguntungkan justru untuk pelajaran-pelajaran yang berkaitan dengan bahasa, sastra, dan seni. Kalau blended classroom itu kita merancang pembelajaran yang menggabungkan perolehan informasi kita itu dari teknologi dan kemudian juga buku dan tatap muka. Jadi kita bisa kalau dalam blended classroom kita bisa tatap maya, tapi kita bisa juga tatap muka langsung ya. Tapi sekarang kedua strategi pembelajaran ini menjadi sangat sangat berkembang dan sangat digunakan. Sementara ada berbagai macam ancangan pembelajaran, saya rasa Ibu dan Bapak semua sudah tahu ya, saya hanya mengulang sedikit saja. Sekarang ini ada CLIL, jadi kita bisa mengajarkan bahasa melalui pelajaran gamelan, mengajarkan bahasa dari membaca resep, mengajarkan bahasa dari sastra, ya kan, dari seni. Jadi belajar gamelan, tapi juga membaca sastra, misalnya ya. Ada communicative approach yang sekarang kita sering pakai, ya ini sudah agak lama berkembang dan sering kita pakai. Ini sangat menyenangkan untuk menggunakannya. Saya dengar Pak Lutfi juga sempat menjadi guide, ya itu kan suatu pekerjaan yang membutuhkan kemampuan komunikatif. Dan ada experimental learning, jadi kita melakukan eksperimen bersama-sama mengajak murid, ya. Jadi sebetulnya kalau kita mengajarkan bahasa, hal-hal ini sudah ada, ya. Task-based approaches, jadi artinya kita memberi tugas kepada siswa kita untuk melakukan suatu pekerjaan, bisa bersama, bisa mandiri. Membaca sastra, karya sastra itu adalah pekerjaan yang bisa mandiri tetapi bisa juga kolaboratif. Dan itu berarti bahwa dosen atau pengajar harus menyediakan pertanyaan-pertanyaan yang menyebabkan siswa bekerja sama. Lalu ada text-based approaches, ini sekarang yang sedang ramai dipakai di SMP dan SMA, ya, jadi berbasis teks. Teks ini benar-benar teks verbal, ya, mereka harus membaca. Nah, di sini karya sastra tentu memegang peranan penting. Selain itu juga kita bisa mengajarkan drama di sini agar mereka dapat membaca, kemudian melakukan role play. Lalu ada P3 tapi bukan partai, ya Bapak Ibu, ya. Ini adalah presentation, practice, and production. Jadi siswa kita akan kita minta, atau pembelajar kita minta untuk mempresentasikan sebuah proposal, kemudian mereka mempraktikkan apa yang disebutnya di dalam proposal itu, dan kemudian ada hasil yang dibagikan atau yang bisa dinikmati oleh banyak orang. Nah, jadi kalau kita bicara mengenai bahasa, sastra, dan seni pada era digital, ya, kita bisa melihat bahwa bahasa, sastra, dan seni itu bisa dilihat sebagai budaya dalam wujud yang indah, terutama sastra dan seni, ya kan? Sastra, seni teater, musik, arsitektur itu adalah budaya sebagai wujud yang indah. Kemudian ada lagi budaya sebagai kebiasaan sosial. Di sini ada masalah keluarga, istilah kekerabatan. Ini yang kita ajarkan dalam pengajaran bahasa, misalnya seperti BIPA, ya. Jadi bagaimana melaksanakan aktivitas yang menyenangkan, hubungan yang sifatnya interpersonal, dan ini bisa ditemukan dalam karya-karya sastra, apakah itu novel atau cerpen, ya kan? Kita bisa ketemu di situ. Jadi kita bisa menggunakan sastra untuk memperkenalkan budaya kita dan sekaligus mengajarkan bahasa. Ada lagi budaya sebagai bagian dari makna kata dan konsep dalam bahasa. Dalam hal ini misalnya kita bicara mengenai hari-hari libur nasional, kehidupan sosial dan sebagainya, juga penggunaan metafor misalnya, ya, berbagai macam warna. Setiap budaya mempunyai warna yang berbeda. Jadi ini bisa kita ajarkan dan kemudian bisa kita sisipkan bahasa, sastra, dan seni. Terakhir adalah budaya sebagai kesantunan dalam berinteraksi. Mau tidak mau, kesantunan berinteraksi sebagai bagian dalam budaya akan muncul di dalam karya-karya sastra, di dalam seni, berarti di dalam gerakan, ya kan? Lalu di dalam lagu dan sebagainya. Ini kita bisa lihat bagaimana budaya ini berinteraksi dan dapat kita berikan. Pada era digital ini kita sangat dimudahkan, di satu pihak, ya, kita dimudahkan oleh teknologi informasi dan komunikasi tentu. Tetapi juga ada kelemahannya. Kelemahannya yaitu kita tidak bisa bertatap muka, ya. Tapi kita bisa bikin film, kita bisa bikin audio, membacakan puisi, membacakan novel atau cerita pendek, ya, itu juga bisa dengan audio saja. Bisa juga dengan audio visual. Jadi pada saat kita mengajarkan budaya sebagai wujud yang indah, kita bisa membaca karya sastra, bermain gamelan, bisa bermain musik, ya kan, bermain drama, membatik, memahat. Ini semua hal yang kemudian kita bisa sajikan ke murid kita dengan memilih salah satu pendekatan tertentu bagi murid-murid kita juga. Sebagai kebiasaan sosial tentu juga ini adalah hal-hal yang bisa kita ajarkan ya kan, tapi juga kita memilih ya kira-kira pendekatan apa yang akan memudahkan siswa kita ya. Jadi kita dengan adanya digitalisasi dalam segala hal juga termasuk karya-karya sastra kita bisa membacanya lewat e-book sekarang ya, dan juga kita bisa mendengar. Ini juga dalam pengajaran kita bisa memaknai konsep-konsep. Ada hari libur, ya kan, ada upacara dan berbagai hal yang simbol-simbol yang melingkupi upacara tersebut sebagai bagian dari budaya. Juga ada nasi tumpang. Kita lihat di sini juga ada telur di ujung tanduk, ya kan? Ini kan metafor, kiasan. Tapi kalau dalam bahasa Inggris, to dance with an elephant. Jadi kita berdansa dengan elephant. Orang asing, orang barat mengatakan to dance with an elephant. Kalau kita dansa dengan elephant, dengan gajah, kita akan terinjak-injak. Sementara bagi orang Indonesia, hal yang kritis itu disebutnya telur di ujung tanduk. Kalau telur berada di ujung tanduk, dia bisa jatuh dan pecah. Kita bisa memilih juga berbagai macam ancangan untuk menyajikan hal-hal ini. Ya, Bapak Ibu. Ini juga kesantunan, tentu kita bisa melihatnya dalam penyebutan hubungan, dalam memberi salam, minta maaf, dan sebagainya. Dan ini penuh di dalam karya sastra. Jadi kita bisa melihat bagaimana karya sastra menyapa seseorang atau pendengarnya atau pembacanya. Atau jika kita membaca novel atau membaca cerpen, kita dapat memperoleh contoh bagaimana suatu komunitas budaya tertentu saling berinteraksi ya dan mengucapkan berbagai hal ini sebagai bagian dari kegiatan budaya. Kembali lagi, tentunya kita dapat memilih pendekatan seperti apa yang akan kita gunakan pada saat kita menyampaikan isi bahasa sastra dan seni. Saya berbicara agak cepat ya supaya ada banyak waktu untuk bertanya. Jadi ada banyak aplikasi yang dapat kita gunakan. Saya sendiri masih tertatih-tatih karena mempelajari berbagai macam aplikasi ini. Saya rasa Ibu Bapak jauh lebih mahir dibandingkan saya ya. Ini ada aplikasi untuk belajar kosakata, belajar menulis, belajar berbicara. Ini memang adalah aplikasi-aplikasi, tetapi tentu kita bisa kombinasikan aplikasi ini dengan berbagai pendekatan yang saya sudah sampaikan tadi ya, bisa dengan cara clear, bisa dengan cara komunikatif, bisa dengan cara text-based learning dan sebagainya. Ini hanya alat untuk latihan. Dan untuk ini juga saya memberikan beberapa tautan yang akan bisa kita gunakan untuk mempelajari cara-cara mengajar dengan jarak yang jauh ya. Ada video pembelajaran ruang belajar ruang guru dari Kemendikbud ya. Mengubah PowerPoint jadi video dan sebagainya. Sangat sangat menarik untuk mempelajari hal-hal ini meskipun memang dibutuhkan juga waktu ya Bapak Ibu ya supaya kita dapat menguasai betul hal-hal ini ya. Dan ini saya aja membuat daftar hadir ya. Itu sulit sekali rasanya ya, tapi sebetulnya kita bisa mempelajari banyak hal. Dan ini saya rasa inilah penekanan saya kepada keuntungannya kita sekarang berada pada era digital. Sekarang ini adalah bagaimana kita mengatur silabus kita agar seperti tadi saya katakan, kita bisa memilih antara flipped classroom atau blended classroom, bahkan flip dan dan blended itu bisa kita gabung menjadi satu, dan juga memperhatikan kuadran ruang kelas ya, apa yang akan kita gunakan. Kemudahan di samping kendala, ada kemudahan yang diberikan oleh teknologi yang insya Allah akan dapat membantu kita untuk lebih ada lebih banyak keleluasaan bagi kita untuk menerapkan justru menggabungkan bahasa, sastra, dan juga seni dalam pembelajaran kita. Demikian yang bisa saya berikan, Bapak-Bapak dan Ibu-Ibu, tidak banyak dan sangat tergesa-gesa. Insya Allah waktunya cukup ya Pak Lutfi ya.
Ya, cukup.
Kita
Ibu.
bisa lanjutkan
Alhamdulillah.
dengan tanya jawab ya. Baik, terima
Baik.
kasih Bapak Ibu.
Ya, oke, terima kasih Bu Felicia. Thank you very much. Oke.
Welcome.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, now we are come to the question and answer session. Yeah, if you have questions, you can raise your hand. Yeah. Until now, I don't find question in chat box. Maybe if you wanna ask question, you can raise your hand, please. Bu Felicia, ini sangat menarik sekali pemaparannya, terutama yang berkaitan dengan text-based approach dan fokusnya pada sastra gitu ya. Nah ini kadang-kadang banyak yang berpikir, kenapa kok sastra ya? Ada apa sih di dalam sastra itu? Kenapa harus teks sastra Ibu?
Ya, saya jawab langsung ya Pak Lutfi ya.
Oke, silakan.
Ya, baik. Jadi kenapa sastra? Karena sastra itu dapat mewakili banyak hal ya, yang tidak semuanya terwakili dalam teks-teks, apalagi kalau kita harus membuat sebuah teks. Jadi misalnya kalau kita mengambil teks sastra cerpen dari koran ya, misalnya di akhir pekan kan selalu ada koran sering mengikut sertakan cerpen. Sayangnya Kompas sekarang sudah tidak lagi mengikut sertakan cerpen, tetapi media Indonesia, Republika masih ada cerpen. Dan cerpen itu sangat menggambarkan situasi yang ada sekarang. Dan situasinya itu bisa diterjemahkan, kita bisa mengatur situasi itu dari sisi berbagai macam sisi ekonomi, sisi politik, ya kan, sisi sosial, dan juga berbagai macam isu yang sekarang sedang diangkat dalam sastra, misalnya seperti ekosistem dalam lingkungan kita itu kan bisa diangkat dan bisa digunakan. Jadi di dalam sebuah karya sastra itu latar belakangnya sangat kaya dan juga latar belakangnya sangat berisi budaya. Belum lagi jika kita berbicara mengenai bentuk-bentuk metafor, kiasan yang terkandung dalam karya sastra, sehingga karya sastra itu akan memberikan kepada kita pengetahuan bahasa di satu pihak, namun ada juga pengetahuan budaya di lain pihak. Jadi sang pengajar itu bisa pintar-pintar saja menggali apa yang ada di dalam cerpen, bahkan di dalam puisi, karena di dalam puisi kan sifatnya kan sangat terbuka luas ya, bergantung kepada bagaimana kita menginterpretasi. Nah, jadi kita bisa melihat bagaimana bahasa kita diinterpretasi oleh murid kita yang orang Indonesia juga, karena orang Indonesia kan bahasa Indonesia bukan bahasa pertama ya Pak ya, atau kalau kita mengajar orang asing. Jadi bagaimana mereka dengan latar belakang budaya mereka menginterpretasi karya sastra yang dihasilkan dalam bahasa Indonesia. Saya rasa itu Pak keuntungannya dari mengajarkan sastra, memasukkan sastra sebagai bagian dalam pengajaran bahasa.
Oke, baik.
Ya.
Terima kasih. Jadi konsep dulce e utile itu sangat penting ya Bu. Jadi ketika kita membaca karya sastra, tidak hanya unsur hiburan, tapi ada manfaat yang bisa kita petik di situ. Oke, nah ini ya sudah ada pujian dari Pak Markus, itu Ibu Felicia. Thank you very much for your presentation. There were so many helpful links ya. To share your presentation with us ya. Nanti akan diberi Pak Markus.
Thank you so much,
Baik, Pak Markus. So I'm interested in we can apply phonological concept without twisting our tongue. Yeah. Sometimes phonological concept is a problem in foreign language learning, but you say that we can apply phonological concept without twisting our tongue. Can you explain again, Pak Markus?
Yeah, the idea basically is very simple. If it comes to phonetics, we must twist our tongue. Yeah, this is difficult. It's easy for children. It is difficult for us adults. But phonology is just an instruction. When do I do what? So I don't know, there may be a couple things that are difficult and they won't get easy, but we should not focus on these. We should focus on parts of the language where we can help students get better. And this, I believe, is much easier to achieve in phonology than in phonetics. Because in phonology, it just means there is a sound and an environment, and I need to understand how the environment impacts the sound. But I can produce that sound. This is what phonology is about. And this is why it is much easier, because all I need is my intellect and experience. But I don't have to teach my tongue to go here or there, because my tongue is not flexible. I'm old.
Okay, but sometimes teacher show us how to pronounce something like big. We must speak open or narrow. Is sometimes our teacher show in front of class, and then we must imitate it.
I do that too. Again, my rule of thumb is I can quickly and successfully convey phonology. Phonetics, in some cases I can, and in some cases I cannot. I do speaking exercises with my students, and my students enjoy doing that in a group. So they form a choir and they do it together, and that's fun for them. And of course, we do that a lot when we're singing songs. Yeah, but generally, really my experience is explaining to students when to do what is much simpler than to give them a detailed instruction on what to do with their breathing and lips. This is just torture for some and not fun for most people. This is, I think, sort of a sad inheritance from the early linguistics, from the school of structuralism, where the researchers try to cut down language into binomial phonemes. Yeah, so there is this complete focus on these details, like the difference between b and p. And this is not fun for students, and it's exhausting, not successful.
But I think what you did in comparing the way the R is pronounced in German, that's very good, because you compare Bahasa Indonesia, how to pronounce Bahasa Indonesia, to how to pronounce German, and I think the students like it.
Yeah, maybe.
I hope
And
so.
actually,
Yeah.
a lot of it is easy. Some things are difficult, but this is not much. I think someone from China has a more difficult time studying German pronunciation than somebody from Indonesia.
Mhm.
It's much, much simpler for you.
Mhm.
But now in Germany, there are many students from China, yeah?
Yes, there are.
And then they have no difficulties to German, to learn German.
They have. I mean, I don't know now with a pandemic. Of course, everything has come to a halt. But China, I don't know. I may be wrong, but I think China is even the #1 currently. No country sends more students to Germany right now than China.
Good. Pak Marcus, we have one question for you. How to improve our pronunciation? Sometimes we have problems, and then how we can improve our pronunciation.
Is this a student of German language or English?
Both, maybe.
Generally, I would trust your teachers a lot to get it going for you and give you feedback and give you counseling. And if your teachers need help, they should come to me.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, and I gladly do that, because this is one of the spheres where I feel I can help, and it's fun for me. I will be here 2 more years, and it's been something that's been on my mind for the time that I've been here. Yeah, there may be some topics where you may seek my advice, where I'll say, "Oh, I'm not the right person to ask." But if it comes to that, I feel I can help, and I will enjoy doing it.
Okay, thank you very much. Dan sekarang untuk Bu Felicia ini ada pertanyaan yang cukup menarik, Ibu. Ini dari Mbak Nabila, bagaimana sebaiknya pembelajaran bahasa Indonesia di tingkat universitas? Karena di tingkat univ juga memperoleh mata kuliah bahasa Indonesia. Nah, sebaiknya mungkin ada perbedaan ketika kita di universitas dengan di SMA, atau mulai di SD, SMP, SMA, sampai perguruan tinggi kan kita belajar bahasa Indonesia terus. Seolah-olah kita tuh dihadapan dengan awalan me, akhiran kan. Selalu itu terus. Mungkin Pak Markus juga masalahnya di situ ya. Jadi awalan me, akhiran kan, sufik un auch ber, ya, awalan ber dan sebagainya. Nah, ini di tingkat universitas itu harusnya seperti apa sih, Bu? Apakah bahasa Indonesia itu harus sebagai alat untuk menjadi untuk menghasilkan tulisan-tulisan yang akademik, ya, atau masih tetap perlu belajar tentang tata bahasa dan sebagainya?
Kalau saya percaya bahwa sebaiknya di tingkat universitas mahasiswa diajarkan untuk menulis dan berpresentasi. Penekanannya di situ. Jadi masalah ketatabahasaan yang detailing itu biarlah dipelajari oleh ahli linguistik. Tetapi bagi mahasiswa yang diperlukan adalah kemampuan penggunaan. Jadi lebih kepada kompetensi dalam writing, dalam presenting, ya. Jadi lebih kepada menulis dan berbicara dalam arti public speaking, ya, bicara di depan umum. Tetapi tuntutan dari para pengajarnya itu adalah dengan rajin membaca setiap hasil pekerjaan mahasiswa. Itu berarti bahwa jangan langsung minta mahasiswa untuk menulis sebuah makalah 10 halaman, tetapi membimbing mereka mulai dari menulis bagian-bagian dari sebuah karya tulis ilmiah. Itu yang saya, jadi lupakan saja dulu, ya, lupakan saja dulu tata bahasa. Kenapa? Pada saat kita memeriksa tulisan mereka, dengan sendirinya akan tertautlah, akan berkaitanlah bentuk-bentuk tata bahasa dalam kalimat, ya. In sentences we will find very many grammar mistakes that we can talk to them, tell them where the mistakes are, instead of teaching them grammar. Jadi lebih baik kita mengajarkan melalui praktik. Itu usul saya. Gitu, Pak.
Ya, terima kasih. Saya pikir sama dengan yang disampaikan oleh Pak Markus. Ya. Tadi juga yang penting adalah bagaimana performance gitu ya.
Iya.
Ya, baik. Pak Markus, can you give us a reason why we should foreign language? Why we should learn foreign language? Because now there are many tools that can help us to translate or.
Oh, I personally think learning a language is a way for us to grow as a person and to be curious and I don't know, isn't it fun?
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah. Actually, in my class, for example, to translate now, my students use tool to translate a text, and then they are not curious to interpret, but they look for tools to help them.
Well, there are good translation tools, and I use them as well, of course. Yeah, I will not lie about it. We must know when to do it and when not to. Don't do it in exams, and that's what my students do, I'm afraid.
Ya, Bu Felicia, kalau bahasa Indonesia sendiri posisinya di dunia saat ini seperti apa, Bu? Apakah masih banyak yang berminat untuk mempelajari bahasa Indonesia? Terus juga strategi-strategi yang dikembangkan oleh pemerintah supaya bahasa Indonesia itu bisa digunakan atau dikenal di negara-negara lain, apa ya, Bu, ya kira-kira?
Oh iya. Mengenai kondisi bahasa Indonesia, alhamdulillah, Rabbil alamin, ya, bahwa kondisinya sangat baik. Sekarang ini sangat baik. Memang pernah ada kejadian di mana peminat bahasa Indonesia menurun. Tetapi alhamdulillah dengan keadaan ekonomi dan politik di kita sekarang ini, maka harkat dari bahasa Indonesia mulai meningkat kembali. Dan sementara ini memang kita Kemendikbud itu menjalin hubungan, khususnya dulu namanya PPSDK, saya sedang lupa namanya sekarang apa, tetapi kantor itu sedang membina hubungan dengan 72 negara. Dan kita banyak menjalin hubungan pengajaran bahasa Indonesia untuk penutur asing secara daring dengan negara-negara lain. Jadi sekarang justru dengan kondisi pandemik ini, pengajaran bahasa Indonesia bagi orang asing kok kelihatannya seperti sedang naik daun, ya, sedang populer kembali, dan banyak menariknya. Alhamdulillah. Pemerintah sekarang juga sangat rajin membuka pelatihan untuk guru-guru, calon guru BIPA. Sudah ada SKL-nya, standar kompetensi lulusan, dan sekarang sedang disusun standar kompetensi pengajar. Jadi itu kegiatannya. Ada satu hal sebetulnya yang ingin saya tekankan kepada pemerintah, tapi mungkin juga bisa lewat ini perguruan tinggi, Pak Lutfi, yaitu kita harus giat membuat kamus. Ya, Inggris itu menguasai dunia karena membuat kamus. Dari salah satu strategi penjajahannya saat kolonial adalah membuat kamus. Dan itu berhasil, dan kamus Inggris menguasai dunia, sehingga mau tidak mau Inggris menjadi menguasai dunia. Nah, itu yang harus saya rasa itu yang harus kita kerjakan jika kita ingin bahasa Indonesia meningkat lagi menjadi bahasa dunia. Sekarang sedang diusahakan menjadi bahasa regional. Dan saya rasa kita ada di tahap terdepan dalam hal mengindonesiakan, membahasa Indonesiakan regional. Insya Allah itu akan tercapai. Tetapi harus diikuti dengan pembuatan kamus. Bukan hanya pelajaran bahasa Indonesia, tetapi lebih kamusnya ya, supaya kita bisa berkomunikasi.
Oke.
Demikian Pak Lutfi.
Ya. Terima kasih Bu Felicia, terima kasih Pak Markus. Ladies and gentlemen, we finally come to the end of this first session. Before I close this session, I would like to thank the speaker for the informative and interesting presentation and all the persons for very active participation. Finally, give the applause for Markus Scherble and Ibu Felicia and for you all. Thank you very much for having me as moderator. And now we are come to second session, and this session will be guided by Ibu Lina Purwani Hartanti. Bu Lina, time is yours. Thank you, Bu Felicia und Pak Markus. Dankeschön.
Thank you very much, Pak Lutfi. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bu Felicia.
Gute Besserung.
Thank you, Pak Markus. Yes.
Semoga segera sehat.
Terima kasih banyak.
Cepat sehat kembali.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Lutfi, for the time given to me. Oh, this is our token of appreciation. Token of appreciation for Pak Markus. Pak Markus. This is specially given to you from us, the Faculty of Languages and Arts.
Thank you very much.
And this is the token of appreciation for Dr. Felicia. Thank you for becoming our presenters today.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Once again, thank you for Pak Markus and Bu Felicia. And now, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcome to our second session of today's International Conference on Language and Culture, ICLC 2021. I am Lina Purwani Hartanti, and I will be serving as your moderator at this second session. Distinguished guests, fellow students, ladies and gentlemen, in this second session, we will be hearing outstanding presentations from our two prominent speakers, Mr. Cliff David Hilton. Hello, Mr. Cliff. Are you here?
Hello. Thank you for the kind introduction. Thank you.
And also Mr. Ali Mustafa. Good afternoon, Mr. Ali Mustafa.
Good afternoon. Thank you so much, Lina, for introducing me.
Once again, welcome to our international conference, Mr. Cliff and Mr. Ali. Or may I address you as Pak Cliff and Pak Ali? To make it more friendly.
Friendly is good. Friendly
Thank
is
you,
good.
Pak Cliff and Pak Ali. How are you?
Yeah, very well. Here in the UK, it is 8:47. So I think where you are.
So is it very early for you?
Well, no, not really. On a Saturday, this is normal. This is okay. I've been listening with interest to your previous speakers, and I'm very excited about the subjects being covered here. I'm honored to be part of it.
Thank you, Pak Cliff. It's a very lovely time to have you here with us today, this afternoon.
It's a fantastic opportunity. I'm really happy to be part of it.
Okay. Hi, Pak Ali. It's nice to meet you virtually in this conference, Pak Ali.
Sorry, Bulina.
How are you?
I'm very good. Thank you for having me here. Thank you. And
Yeah.
thank you for inviting me.
Okay, so, well, ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I would like to welcome our first presenter in this second session, Pak Cliff. And in this session, or in his presentation today, he will talk about COIL in the digital era. Am I right, Pak Cliff? Pak Cliff,
Yep.
sorry. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
But before we listen to Pak Cliff's presentation, let me read his curriculum vitae first. I'm pretty sure that Pak Cliff has a very long curriculum vitae, but right now I would like to make a brief resume for his curriculum vitae. So,
Yeah.
Cliff David Hilton, Bachelor of Arts and Master of Arts. He is a senior fellow of Higher Education Academy and also PhD candidate. His current research is dealing with an examination of the factors influencing the attainment gap among Chinese product design students studying at Coventry University. Once he became a visiting research scholar at Shanghai Open University in 2016. And he is currently as an assistant professor at Coventry University and acting as a course director. He is also working at Open University as a lecturer in design. Besides, he also had some experiences in school and college of design. And Pak Cliff also has been writing a lot of publication related to design in journals and also online media. So there is a brief curriculum vitae of Pak Cliff. Yeah, and I think it's already the time for us to listen to Pak Cliff's presentation. And Pak Cliff, you have 20 minutes to present your material today, and time is yours.
Lovely. Okay, let's start. I'll just share my screen. Okay. Since I can't see the chat screen while I'm sharing the screen, can someone just tell, can you actually see the screen I'm sharing? The International Conference on Language and Culture. Is that visible to everyone?
Yep.
Cool. Okay. So the presentation I'm going to give you is contemporary. It is issues relating to the way we teach design, especially in the COVID era. But the work that has laid the foundations for this presentation actually goes back nearly 10 years. We're trying to develop techniques 10 years ago about mixing online digital techniques with online learning in a discipline design that is traditionally done in studios, students working together. So by the end of this presentation, what you may think is, well, this is just normal. This is how we do it. But we were actually pioneering some of these techniques quite a long time ago, and it certainly was not normal. Okay, let's have a look. Oh, sorry. Yeah. So, what is COIL? C-O-I-L. COIL stands for collaborative, online, international learning. And my personal philosophy, my design philosophy as a teacher is that design is a global activity, especially in the world we live in today. So we can have an American-owned company with a design office in London, working with manufacturers in China for a market in Asia or Africa. The world is a global place. And my argument, my philosophy is that when we're training designers to work in this world, what we have to do is prepare them for this global way of communicating, designing, collaborating, and sharing information. And to do that, we have to understand each other in terms of the cultural context So the days of a kind of Western imperialism, hopefully, are behind us. The world is a cultural, very rich place. And I think it's important on all students of design to understand the cultural implications. And the course I used to teach at Coventry University for 10 years recruited 90% of the students are international students from all over the world. So, I have good insights into the value of cross-cultural communication. My research specialism is in Chinese students. And the reason for that is that we at Coventry University, we have a policy of recruiting lots of Chinese students. And institutionally, not just in the UK, but in my research, I've read of other institutions who see Chinese students as kind of problematic. They're perceived to be somehow unique. They're not necessarily communicative. They don't reach out. And there are certain associations with problems with language. And the perception is that these Chinese students are somehow difficult. Well, when I arrived at Coventry University, that was the picture 10 years ago. And when I became aware of this, I thought, well, why? Why? How much truth is in this? And if it is true, then what can we do as teachers to fix this problem? How can we design teaching situations and curricula that actually improve that situation specifically for Chinese students? So one of the first steps I did was to reach out to other organizations, institutions in China, and we formed partnerships with them. So we would send UK students to there to study, and they sent students to us to study. And in this way, both our UK students got an insight into Chinese students and began to see, this is what it's like. And what they discovered, actually, Chinese students are incredibly welcoming. They're gregarious, they're active, they like fun. And then these stereotypes that the UK students had about Chinese students start to become overturned. And so relationships begin to form. So at the heart of those relationships is understanding people and understanding cultures. And in terms of my PhD, I did this through research, as well as going to China and teaching there in a number of institutions and visiting and observing teaching, product design teaching specifically. I began to understand what are the barriers and what are the opportunities and how we can develop that. Why do this at all? Well, for the reasons I said right at the start, is the world is a globally connected place. We are all global citizens. And in the COVID era, we're all, here we are. The delegates, the participants, the speakers are very likely on different continents. So this is just going to become more and more a normal way of working. The days of just getting on an airplane and going halfway around the world to attend a meeting, are probably gone. So, and it makes for interesting things, being in the same virtual space across about 2, 3, 4, 5 time zones, fantastic, but also introduces other difficulties. Some of the advantages of being in the same room with the same people is there's a certain dynamic human interaction that's very difficult to replicate online, but replicate and adapt is what we must do. So the thing I'm going to show you now is what is a Coil project. Here's an example of one, and I'll briefly show you what came out of it. But more importantly, really, I'm most interested in the philosophy, why we're using it and what we hope to deliver to our students. So the Coil project typically run with an institution in a town just outside Shanghai, a city just outside Shanghai, Tongxiang. It teaches undergraduate product design. My course teaches postgraduate product design. And so we formed a relationship, and the idea is it's a 2-week short project, and the students are a mix. It's certainly at Coventry, where I was teaching, it's a mix of disciplines, it's a mix of nationalities, and in China, all Chinese students, excuse me. So there is a mix. So the tutors arrange the participating students into groups, depending on numbers, usually 5, and we mix them up. We deliberately mix them up. We make it very difficult for them to to feel comfortable. That's a deliberate technique. They should feel apprehensive. They should be slightly worried about engaging with someone they know nothing about, which is good, because we take that position. By the end of it, they should become friends and they should become very familiar. So we match the groups at Coventry with the groups in China, and the shared online space that we use is either Zooms or Teams, just like this. But the tools we use to communicate are very important. And the primary tool is WeChat. Some of you may be familiar with it, but in China, it's ubiquitous. You cannot function if you don't have WeChat. It's more than just social media. It's a means of gaining access to social systems, transport systems, restaurants, payment. Very powerful. And of course, Chinese students are very familiar with it. So part of my belief is that as Westerners, we should reach out. We should reach out. It's not a requirement in my mind that they should do all the reaching out. We should reach out, and we use WeChat. And WeChat has this brilliant facilities. If you don't understand what's being said, it has a dynamic translation facility. So Western students, you can actually understand what Chinese students are saying. So the brief of this project, the subject of this case study, was to design an item of medical equipment. The twist is always that the Western students design for the Chinese market and the Chinese students design for a Western market. So it forces them to try to understand what that means in cultural terms. So Western students have to engage with their partner students and conduct research by asking questions, by investigating, and by forming relationships and losing anxiety and losing hostility through this process. So, Western students typically, they might have a stereotype of what Chinese medicine, traditional Chinese medicine is, but they don't really know what it is. And similarly, Chinese students may think that Westerners just eat pills and tablets all the time. And that probably is not the case. So it's very much about understanding each other's cultures and understanding how stereotypes can sometimes lead you into wrong directions. I'll show you some of the outcomes. They're nearly always fantastic. And the key thing is the context, is the outcomes are nearly always a consequence of working in a cross-disciplinary way, working across disciplines. And for some students, this is new. They've never done it, especially the Chinese students. They've never worked in this way. So this is the result from a Chinese group. They, in their investigation with their partners, they discovered that Westerners, specifically British, apparently we like gardening, we like going to the pub, and we like the countryside. And so they designed, with a mix of architecture students, product design students, and graphic design students, they designed this kind of village. It's almost like a retirement village, where the focus is on people who go there in the late stages of their life, and they would they'd live there, and facilities are provided for them for their health, but it's set in beautiful grounds, and they can enjoy nature, and they can have therapy, and it's a lifestyle thing. So this is not medicine, this is a lifestyle thing, which is fantastic. I mean, it's a lovely result. And excuse me, I'm just checking there. It's a lovely result, and it is a mix of this multidisciplinary way of working, and it evolved from a cultural understanding of what the elderly are like in the UK. The UK student, this is a UK project, they partnered up with the group, and they were particularly interested in health provision in China. So, well, how does it work? In the UK, we have this thing, the National Health Service. Basically, it's paid for out of taxation. Nobody has to pay for treatment. It's free. How does it work in China? And so they really want to know is how is good health and medicine delivered? Long story short is what this system is. It's a vending machine essentially connected to the internet, to medical services, and it is a system by which people who don't have access to medicine directly have direct access. This is for remote regions or poor regions in poor parts of the city, where you sign up with your WeChat and then you give an access to medication, which you can collect, and access to health services via making appointments at institutions. and since it's there 24 hours a day, it can be accessed at any time. And it dispenses traditional medicine as well as kind of sort of Western medicine in the forms of drugs. So you get the best of both worlds. You get this high-tech online connectivity with an acknowledgement that traditional medicine still is very significant in parts of China. So understanding all this, the cultural context was key, and the students that took part in this particular thing, they're from China themselves. We have Chinese students. They act as mediators from the UK and from the Czech Republic. So a genuinely transcultural solution. So, those are some outcomes. But I think the most important thing is well, how do we do it and what do we get from it and why? As I say, we use WeChat because instant translation, Chinese are familiar with it, UK students, actually, we've been using it in our course for 6-7 years. It's very easy. And we use Zoom and Teams as a mechanism for sharing stuff and presenting the findings. And WeChat is central for all of those reasons. And we also use it as a kind of backup. So while the presentations are going on or in advance of the meeting, the academics, the project leaders, we're communicating. So when things go wrong, and they often do, technology, we can still communicate what's going on. So this little thing, this screenshot here shows you that, well, the system went down, but we were still able to communicate via WeChat and keep the thing going and say, okay, don't worry about it, it'll be fine. And it's also used, I use WeChat when I'm introducing my students for the first time. They come to the course. I don't really speak Chinese. I can speak a little. I mean, I can say some things and I can write some things, but the fact that students see that I'm willing to make an effort to try and learn a language, I mean, Marcus's point here, I think is really valuable. It's trying to learn someone else's language is an act of tremendous cultural generosity. It's recognition and respect for a different culture. So I think Chinese students respond well to academics who do try to make an effort and learn something. And we use it, the students themselves, it's not proactive. It's not just tutors, do this, do this, do this. It very much is driven by the students themselves. The thing with Coil projects is the students drive it. And so they proactively, they come back and go, Clive, you arranged this meeting, it's the wrong link or something like this. Great. And then we use it as a means of feedback. So this third screen grab is after the event. I'm telling them, you did some fantastic work there, team, well done. And then, of course, get all these little happy GIFs and emojis. But in the COVID era, all this is very difficult. We can't actually get students together. And that's why it is actually, as a mechanism, it's really good for kind of online learning. The COVID era has forced us to adapt. And the value of it was that model of delivery where we co-collaborate and we co-create it was used in the entire COVID era by our institution, Coventry University, to teach design. That's pretty much the model that was adapted. So I'd like to just sum up the philosophy behind it, really, because I think that's the important thing. And I'm happy to share this presentation with you if you'd like a copy. So my core philosophy really is, we have a saying, I drink my own medicine. I do this stuff. So that's what I teach. And I think the key thing is that cultural difference is incredibly important. The arrogance of a kind of Western position, I think, is, well, you learn English and you just do it. You have to communicate with us. I think that's untenable. We must all learn to reach out to each other, regardless of where that might be. And that is a real responsibility for designers. We must reach out. We're designing for people. So unless we understand those people, how can we claim to design anything suitable for them? And I think that Marcus made this point, we must be socially, emotionally creative, curious creatures. We must be. If designers aren't curious, then where do they get their ideas from? Where do they find new sources of inspiration? How do they challenge themselves? So curiosity, I'm kind of quite pleased to see that, some of these things have been echoed in the other speakers' presentations. The other thing I would say is, team, failure is the most powerful teacher. And culturally, Chinese students find this really difficult. because failure is associated with shame, loss of face. I turned it upside down. I said, well, if you're not failing, you're not learning anything. You know, you have to push yourself to the point where things just stop working, or they don't work, or you can't do it. And that's how you learn. It's how do you overcome that position to take yourself up to the next level. So we tell them, don't fear failure. And then this is my favorite. Is, well, it should be fun, shouldn't it? All this creativity, it should be fun. And if it's not fun, well, become an accountant. Creativity is fun. And when the important thing is when people are having fun, they're not frightened. They're enjoying it. And when people enjoy things, my argument is not only do they learn more, but they're enjoying it more. And when people enjoy the things they're learning, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like this is the most amazing creative thing to do. So I see a future in which digital technology is increasing. They will become better and better and better. And that this collaboration will take place, yeah, in a shared virtual online space, but that will also happen for things like model making, which are very difficult to do now collaboratively online. But that, you know, virtual reality technologies and co-creation, I think, are only going to get better and slicker. And within 5 or 10 years, I think it will be normal to co-create in a virtual space. And that, ladies and gentlemen, I think I'm about a minute early, is kind of it. I think if I just had to sum it all up in one go, in two sentences, is, yeah, it's all about culture. It's all about empathy, and it's all about making efforts to understand other cultures. Finish. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Pak Cliff, for a very great explanation about COIL, yeah, Collaborative Online International Learning. What a good project, which combines culture and design, and especially Western and Eastern culture, because as we know, these two cultures are quite or very different. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
But Pak Cliff, you have conquered the challenge. So, yeah, it's
Thank
great
you very
for
much.
you. Yeah, because talking about China, Pak Ali also is very familiar with Chinese culture. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Isn't it funny?
Yeah, I am becoming a little bit more familiar. And I think Marcus maybe, I know I've mentioned him before, but I think Marcus may be of a similar mindset, is that the reality is the more you reach out to any culture, Indonesian culture, Chinese culture, Indian culture, I have quite a few Indian students, the more you understand. And the more you understand, the more you want to understand. And the more you want to understand, the more exciting it becomes. So you find yourself in this virtuous feedback. And that's why I love working with international students. And it's not just from China, literally from all over the world, as Can you will attest. And I think we live in quite difficult times. So the more people understand about each other, the less we see each other as strange, hostile people. And we just see them, well, people who live different cultural lives. And understanding, I think, is essential to conquering fear and anxiety.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, Pak Cliff. For those who will ask questions to Pak Cliff, so you can start thinking of your question and also write down in the chat room, because we will have question and answer session later after Pak Ali's presentation. Okay, once again, thank you, Pak Cliff, for a very wonderful presentation today.
Thank you for inviting me.
Yeah. Now, ladies and gentlemen, it's time for us to welcome our second speaker at this session, Pak Ali Mustafa. And in today's occasion, he will deliver a presentation entitled Boys Love Romance TV Series in Asia, Postcolonial Performativity Perspective. Oh, Pak Ali, this is an interesting topic, isn't it?
Yeah, although it is quite different with the other topics from the previous presenters, I hope that everyone could enjoy what I am going to share today.
Yeah, because it's literature, so I think in literature, everything is okay. Yeah, Pak Ali, ya? Okay. Now, before Pak Ali giving his presentation, I will read his curriculum vitae. Pak Ali is a lecturer at English Literature Study Program, English Department, Faculty of Languages and Arts, Universitas Negeri Surabaya. He also teaches at English Language in Literature Study Program, Graduate School of Universitas Negeri Surabaya. He holds his bachelor degree in English Literature in 1999 and his master degree in Language and Literature in 2002 and his doctoral degree in Language and Literature in 2008. He teaches literary criticism and literature in language education in master degree program, philosophy of languages and literature education in doctoral degree program, and some literary subjects such as prose appreciation, intrinsic approaches to literature, extrinsic approaches to literature, gender studies, and film studies. And those are in undergraduate program. His publications are mostly on literary and cultural studies, literature in language teaching, gender studies, film studies, and mythologies. Okay, so that is a brief curriculum vitae from Pak Ali. And now, Pak Ali, you can deliver your presentation for 20 minutes. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you, Bulina, for introducing me to the audience. Well, ladies and gentlemen, especially the speakers, guest speakers, Pak Marcos, Bu Felicia, Pak Clay, coming and joining this conference. And please allow me to share my presentation today. Okay, let me share the PPT to you. Okay, well, all right, everyone. Okay, can you see the slide now?
Yes, Pak Ali.
Okay.
Clear.
Well, dealing with the previous presenters, Pak Cliff's presentation has, has been talking about one of the countries that I would like to share here, China. So my topic today is about Boys Love Romance TV series in Asia, and it will be using the post-colonial performativity perspective and how I will frame the discussion into such discussion, because it has been inspired by so many trends today, and also, people, and especially the students, young people today, love to watch TV series, and especially boys love series. Okay. Well, okay. So I would like to read one of the comments from Chakraborty 2021. Boys Love TV series here contains romance, chemistry, steamy scenes, and attractive protagonists. Asian Boys Love, or usually it is abbreviated as BL dramas. And they have just the right mix of it all to make them addictive to audiences around the world. Now people have, watched and also enjoyed this kind of broadcasting especially in Asian TVs, because mostly they have been carried away by the performance of the K-pop artists, yeah, especially their performances, their activities in their bands and also their boy bands. So sometimes they also produce romance series. Well, I would like to here take one of the examples and a few to mention a few of the PL romance. One of them, yeah, boys love romance from Thailand, and it is called as Thai boys love romance. Why this kind of TV series today are very interesting, because sometimes the producer also change and also transform this kind of TV series into novels. And the novels here are enjoyed around the world. And sometimes the novels are published online, yeah, in the internet websites, and also something like a fan fiction. For example, Love by Chance in Thailand, and this is one of the boys love romance in Thailand. You may see a lot of boys love romance in Thailand, from, for example, The Quarantines or something like that. So sometimes they have been broadcasted into 2 seasons or 3 seasons. And from China, I think that we have a very famous boys love series, and it is entitled Addicted series. And it has been, banned by the Chinese government because of the issues of same-sex relationship, because the Chinese government are very strict about this kind of relationship. And it is opposed to the Taiwanese government, because Taiwanese are more democratic than Chinese government. It's the regime of communism. And from Taiwan, I think that they have a lot of boys love series, yeah, and it has been, those boys love series have been broadcasted every day, and also not only just like in the weekend. For example, in Thailand, in Philippines, and also in Korea, usually BL series are broadcasted in weekend. But in Taiwan, I think that every day we can enjoy boys love series. So when you go to Taiwan, every day you may enjoy this kind of series. And also in Vietnam, we also have the boys love series, and one of the examples is romance film series. And also in Korea, I think that Korea is not like Taiwan and also like Thailand, but Korea is more open about the gender diversity, and especially they accept the same-sex relationship. And I think that Korea has been influencing and inspiring people around the world about their gorgeous male actors and also their singers. And sometimes they have been, I think that they have been, occupying all of the TV broadcasting around the world. And some months ago, or some, I think that this is in 2020, one of the boy bands from Korea has been invited by the UN Summit organization in order to share their ideas and thoughts about culture in Korea, BTS. And also in the Philippines, I think that we have a lot of boys love in between series, and also many boys love series in Philippines. And of course that in the Philippines, the actors and also the producers here have agreed upon the issue on this kind of same-sex relationship, although the people in the Philippines still do not agree with this kind of relationship, but I think that they have been more democratic and also open to the public about this kind of relationship. And in Japanese, Japan, I think that Japan here is one of the pioneers of BL series, because Japan in 1970s, they have produced manga. So manga here is one of the, a manga has been considered as the genealogy of BL, of boys love series. And India has also the BL series, something like Romil and Jugal, and also a lot of people now. India has people in India have resonated about the BL series and why they have been attracted by this kind of series, because they have been much influenced by the blooming of the K-pop and also the invasion of Korean wave. So I should like to recite what Chakraborty had said here. Women are not the center of attraction anymore. In BL dramas, women are not objectified or sexualized. It's like we can escape reality for a while. As most BLs and yaoi manga are written by women, they portray a man in a way a woman wants to see them. Vulnerable, soft, submissive, passive, extremely romantic, and doing things they usually won't do as a man in real life. Indian women are so used to seeing men being portrayed as aggressive, strong, emotionless. So when we see men acting totally opposite, it is refreshing. So this is one of the comments from Chakraborty. So I think that it is one of the reasons why people in India also like to enjoy BL series, because they have reflected their own life and also their culture for many years, that they have been under the the pressure of the patriarchal society, government and the society. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think that we need to look back at the emergence of Japanese manga here. In 1970s, manga has has been colored with this kind of relationship. So people in Japan have been much exposed to this kind of relationship. So I should say that Japanese people are more open about this kind of relationship, opposed to people from other countries such as UK and also Western countries. So why boys love romance here? Boys love romance was first appeared in manga history in Japan under the name of yaoi. So this is the history of BL romance. Yaoi refers to a friendship and is closer to romance between two teenage boys in a particular culture. Manga then is enjoyed and read by both young Japanese boys and girls. Therefore, manga can be considered as young adult literature. And because they have been enjoyed by both boys and girls in Japan, so of course that manga here targeted young readers. And historically, boys love romance is a popular work written by many female writers. So according to the research by Zila and Dimitrovics, manga and fan fiction in Japan, they have been written by female writers. Why? Female writers here, of course, that they want to target female readers, because they just need to enjoy, the sensation of viewing, and because this is a kind of the voyeuristic action by women in Japan, because women in Japan since 1970s, they you know, according to some research and also sources, they do not want to commit into the marital status because of the pressure of the economic condition and also the industrialization. So this is based on the assumption that this literary subgenre was written to fulfill the wishful thinking of straight women, how to channel their hidden desires toward man. And the term boys love romance is actually a development of pre-existing terminology, such as gay novels, gay fiction, gay popular novels, and gay love stories. Because, you know, here, I think that gay novels and gay fiction here can be put side by side with BL series, because sometimes they can be interchangeably used in order to refer to the same condition, because the BL series can also be produced into written works and into a series of novels, just like, you know, Veronica Roth's Divergent, and also James Dashner's Maze Runner, something like that. So it's a kind of a trilogy, or even in a sequel or something like that. So the term boys love then also appeared along with the many studies on this subgenre. So I'm sure that one of them is that literary work is, this is the characteristic of the literary work, and this is subgenre in literary work, and it is romance. Because this romance is carried out by male characters, the term boys love romance is considered more appropriate to describe this subgenre. As young adult literature that presents the romantic friendship of two boys with stereotypes that become idols for young people, especially girls, this kind of romantic relationship becomes a very special attraction, because of course that it portrays the, you know, young boys. They are dashing, handsome, macho, metrosexual, adventurous, and they also very concerned with their physical appearances. And of course that this is one of the attractions for the readers and also for the watchers or viewers. Therefore, the representation of the characters is favored by readers, especially women, the target viewers. However, the representation of the close relationship of the characters leads to the relationship of sensuality and deeper than that, sexuality. So as a relatively new subgenre, the history of the emergence of boys love romance is associated with the existence of manga, anime, or fan works that feature same-sex romance. And that is actually the beginning of the emergence of and the existence of yaoi. At the beginning, the same-sex romance was only limited to the closeness of two men, such as the brotherhood of man. However, in the recent development, it shows playing the dichotomous side of top and bottom, or semi and okay. I'm sorry, I could not pronounce these two terms properly. The top will dominate the bottom, in fact, in terms of sexual intercourse. And McClellan, according to their study, McClellan and Yu, they have found out that homosexuality in Japan is rooted in Japanese culture. This tradition is a part of the fantasy of Japanese women's sexuality. And of course that, you know, people in Japan are more open about this kind of same-sex relationship. In fact, this kind of behavior was prohibited along with the emergence of European colonizers in Japan at that time. And it can be concluded that Japanese society is more tolerant of this kind of behavior. However, they are still considered minority groups. Therefore, they often get humiliated and sometimes stigmatized. And the theory here, the framework that I have used is postcolonial performativity. And I mentioned about postcolonial performativity here because Asian countries, most of them, most of the Asian countries were under the colonization, except Thailand. So during the colonization, I think that I should like to refer to the Popperian technology. Asian countries could be categorized as open society. And it means that Asian are more dynamic of many individuals and would develop unpredictably through piecemeal social engineering, because sometimes they have a very strong in social bond. The issues of same-sex relationship in Asian societies are the evidences of their being open. And of course, that homosexuality themes in literature were firstly appearing in Japanese work of literature such as manga, yaoi, and fan works. And the term postcolonial performativity was first coined by Judith Butler in her Violence Exclusionary Identity Formation. Then Butler leaves her readers with a method of predicting the future of identity formation based on the understanding that identity formation will continue violently through abjection, disavowal, and exclusion. And of course, that it was taken from the formulation of speech act theory by G.L. Austin, that all words which are said are proclaimed, produce actions. And the actions here are performed, therefore this is performativity act. Gender is also a performativity. So we should not be surprised or opposed when the category of women expands to include trans women. And since we are also in the business of imagining alternate futures of masculinity, we should be prepared and even joyous to see what trans men are doing with the category of man. So this is in opposition with what Jacques Derrida's performativity has claimed about performativity here. And Asia and post-colonial performativity. Most of Asian countries were experiencing to be colonized. The people in Asia are Orient. As an Orient, we have the term Oriental. Oriental means Chinese here, which means small, docile, stupid, slender, womanized, and uncivilized. When the colonizer came to Japan, they banned homosexuality. And why do most Asian countries celebrate the queerness through their names? Cambodia, Thailand, Philippines, and Laos. They celebrate this kind of queerness, except Malaysia, Indonesia, and Brunei Darussalam, because they are heterosexual country, if I may say. They have based on their religious teaching and learning, because the majority of the people in this country is Muslims. And what about Papua New Guinea and Timor-Leste? I think that they struggle to build the economic and the political wisdom. Now, about the reimagining masculinity in Asia. Since the reign of colonialism, Asian countries were stereotyped as feminine. And being feminine, of course, that they are weak. They are female gender and sexually pure, exotic, and yet mysterious. And being masculine should be strong, tough, intelligent, and logical. So when they are put together in this kind of, boys' love series, of course, that men are not trapped in the sexual stereotypes. So being masculine can also be caring, loving, emotional, and sensitive. And it is represented by most of the themes in PLR. The need to be loved and to love is much more important than all the conflicts. And in terms of sexuality, men are loving human, They are adventurous and therefore they look for some similarities in other men, of course. They know how to love men rather than how to love women. And boys can cry. This is sometimes we always watch in the BL series. Women or girls are more interested in this type of romance since they develop female gaze as opposed to male gaze. And of course that in terms of sexuality, BL series propose male and male relationship. So the common formula of BLR here from the reading process, I think that I have found some motives in the BLR. First one is that the first encounter of the two characters due to a coincidental circumstance. And then the similarity of fate brought them together and shared the same experience. And the feelings of attraction to each other, but they do not want to admit it. There is a physical contact that leads to sexual intercourse, and they are still maintaining a heterosexual relationship with the opposite sex, but does not feel comfortable with the relationship. And of course, they find some rejection from the closest ones to the behavior that is considered deviant. And both characters, the male characters here, try to convince to come out to their closest friends and family. And finally, both characters continue their relationship with various obstacles. And of course, that in the post-industrialized societies, several studies have linked the BLR here to the openness and the understanding of same-sex relationship in post-industrialized societies. And also, people are more aware and open as well as accept the queer romance. And of course, that BLR here underlines that people will also aware to accept homosexuality or same-sex relationship, that they are recognized as parts of the general public. Of course, that they still have the rejections. And in conclusion, I would like to say that gender is fluid and gender is performativity action, and therefore it is socially constructed. It has been authoritatively dictated and directed by cultures through their rituals, languages, and ceremonies. And boys love romance celebrates the queerness and freedom from those of dichotomous formativity, especially which have been authored by Westerners. And boys love TV series have gained popularity because people are getting bored in heterosexualized characters, such as the electronic cinema today. And BLR stories are simply classic teenage romance stories that have traditionally targeted young adult women, a way a woman wants to see vulnerable, soft, submissive, passive, extremely romantic, and doing things like adventurous things together. And boys love TV series have been blooming and illuminating during the pandemic of COVID-19, along with the openness and the acceptance of the LGBTQ+ communities. They have celebrated a utopian spirit to accept diversity of sexuality. Thank you very much for listening. Thank you, Lina.
Thank you very much, Pak Ali, for the interesting presentation. For me personally, Pak Ali,
Welcome.
this is a very new knowledge for me. So, yeah, we finally know the similarities and differences in boys love TV series,
Yes.
especially in Asia, and also the representation. And of course, for some of us here, it is also a new knowledge or perspective. And I'm pretty sure that there will be a lot of questions for that. So again, without further ado, again, thank you very much, Pak Ali. And
You're welcome, Lina.
yeah, we will heading to the question and answer session. And we already have two lovely presentations from Pak Ali and Pak Cliff. And again, participants, you can write the question in Zoom chat by using name underscore speakers name and underscore question, or directly ask the question by raising hand first, and then I will call your name, and then you can directly say or deliver your question. Okay, in the chat room, I need to set 20 minutes, yeah, because we have 20 minutes for Q&A session. In the chat, I have a question for Pak Cliff from Felicia, but it seems that Pak Cliff already addressed the question, but I think it will be more interesting that if we can listen directly to Pak Cliff's answer. So I will read the question first, Pak Cliff. This is from Felicia. How to have an understanding to create a fun virtual learning system during the COVID situation? In my personal experience, as a student myself, I find it quite hard to learn things in virtual class while also understanding the class situation. So yes, Pak Cliff, time is yours to answer the question.
Yeah, there is an emerging science called gamification. It's the idea that you make learning fun through turning it into a game. I mean, not all things can be turned into games, but I think that philosophical approach and it requires imaginative teachers, if I'm honest, to take an activity that can be quite boring and to turn it into something that is fun, but is also productive. Because I think the key thing is, yeah, you can make things fun, but if students actually aren't learning anything, it's not very effective. I'll give you two examples that show how this works. One of the activities I do with students, I call it something from junk. So I ask the students to bring along just rubbish that they find at home, cardboard boxes, plastic containers. I don't tell them why, and we bring it into a studio, and then we work in little groups, and I say to them, okay, here's the brief. The brief is to make a fighting robot out of this junk. And yeah, there you go. And that's it. That's the brief. And then they have to just make something together. Now what happens, and I've got lots of videos. In fact, after this meeting, I can send you some links and you can see the activity. And just students start laughing, enjoying themselves, but they are creating something. They're using their collective imagination. They're collaborating across cultures, and they create something together. And when students are having fun and they're laughing, they don't realize actually they're also developing their English skills, because they're having to talk to each other, but not in a formal, learn the grammar, do this, do that. They're just engaging in conversation to constructively create something. So that's fun. It's great for designers. But I also thought, well, yeah, how can I take that activity and adapt it to learning something more academic, like trying to understand a piece of complicated text or some research? So we use exactly the same technique, is put them into little groups, multicultural, multidisciplinary, 4 or 5. And then I say, you can use anything you like. You can use your smartphones, you can use dictionaries, translators, anything you like. Just try to understand what this text is on your own together without me telling you what it's all about. And the same dynamic happens, is even though it's text and language, it still turns into a fun thing because they lose their anxiety. You know, if they're asking teacher, what does this word mean? It still feels a bit threatening. But when they're just asking each other, goes, what does this word mean? He goes, oh, I don't know. In Chinese, it means this. In Indonesian, it means this. In Indian, it means this. Okay, what does it mean then? We take all those cultural understandings and turn it back into English that we can all understand. Now, what does it mean? And so the idea is you take something that is innately fun, making things, but you take the principle and you adapt it to a particular academic task and allow the students to do it themselves. It requires trust And I think that's what students respond to, is they're trusted, they're allowed to do it in their own terms, and they're not pressured. They're just allowed to do what normally they would do if they were in a social setting, you know, at home in accommodation or in a cafe, something like that. Yeah, make it fun. But it does require imaginative teachers, and sadly, there aren't many of them around in my experience.
I'm also interested in your answer in the chat that you mentioned that you also arrange social events like parties and also visits exhibitions. Well, is it in this online learning or when they have their offline learning?
Brilliant, brilliant question. Brilliant question. I'll give you a real example. Is once a year, I take students, we call them international study trips. We take students to a city in Europe somewhere, Berlin, Belgium, Amsterdam, Madrid, Lisbon. Students don't have to go. It's voluntary. If they want to go, they go. If they don't have to. No pressure is put on them. But those students that go, and this, I think, illustrates how the principle works, is we might arrange, for example, to go to, when we went to Madrid, we went to visit a school of architecture. So I went to Madrid and said, okay, we're going to the School of Architecture to see, you know, what the architecture students are doing in the context of Madrid. So we learn about the culture, learn about the school's philosophy and the way the students are taught. And what we also did was we got especially the Chinese students for whom this is just second nature, is you say, okay, let's not forget our friends back at Coventry and back in China. And so we would stream those events using WeChat and smartphones and videos so that they could see, they felt part of the process. They go, look, we're in the school and we're looking at some models of buildings and we're looking at this. And so, yeah, in this device, in this miraculous device, there we are, smartphone, we use it as a mechanism to include other people who aren't there, just as we are here. And so that becomes a source of fun. You know, they kind of go, hey, look, we're doing it. It's not Clive teaching, it's not Clive saying things. They're doing it themselves, and they're including those that can't be there. And the interesting thing is those that aren't there, they start asking questions. Go, well, what is that thing? Tell me more about that. And so you have this two-way collaboration. And yeah, there is the physical thing, and then there is also the inclusion of others who aren't there. And afterwards, of course, what we always do is we go to a restaurant, have a meal, and that continues, that dynamic continues. And when people are having a meal together, it doesn't feel like a lesson. It just feels like we're just talking about things. But that's when they're really relaxed. And that's when they ask the questions that perhaps they wouldn't have asked in the classroom. So social event, absolutely, I think, are critical, and they're not really appreciated by teachers as much as they should, because when students become friends with each other, then they don't feel anxious when they return to the classroom. They do, oh yeah, we're just talking. Yeah, I love it.
Okay, thank you, Pak Cliff. So another question for you from Vita. Designers are usually known for their unique mind and tends to work by themselves.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder for them to work collaboratively. In your opinion, how can we handle this? And in addition, the barrier of language between multinational students will add more obstacle, as it may lead to misunderstanding, and sometimes cultural topic is very sensitive. So a little misunderstanding can cause trouble. So how should we deal with this? Brilliant.
Fantastic question again. These are lovely questions. Yeah, absolutely real. And in I think there's something in this, in Ali's presentation, is that it's trying to understand someone else's world that you know nothing about and may be sort of hostile to. So how do we overturn those? The answer is through patience. Now, I have to say, when I introduce students to this way of working, you know, on the very first time I say, well, this is how we're going to work, you know, and you will find it difficult. And frustrating as well, especially this idea that there are some philosophical constructs in one culture that just do not exist in another culture. It just doesn't exist. So how do you try and convey that? So in my teaching, I use translation tools a lot. I mean, I can speak English, tiny bit of Chinese, a bit of French, and that's it. But what I do try to do is like, okay, if we have a Bulgarian student, I'll try and say, okay, I understand how to say hello, thank you, the basics. And when the students see that I'm making an effort, and honestly, I get it wrong a lot, they also see it's okay to make mistakes. And like if a teacher makes mistakes, they go, okay, it's okay for me to make a mistake. So it's all right for you to make a mistake. And to accept, again, Marcus made this point, is that you're going to make mistakes. You're going to say things that are a bit embarrassing or wrong, but you learn from them. You don't allow yourself to be defeated by that. You just keep doing it. And what I can say is that students inevitably, all cultures, they don't like it to start with. They just, Chinese students want to work with Chinese students, Europeans want to work with Europeans. But after 13 weeks, after a semester of this, students report back on their experiences formally. They tell the university what we think of this course, and they love it. They come to see that this was one of the best things that they learned, because they began to see, well, we can take this beyond teaching and academia and design in our world, in our dealings with our everyday people. When we return to our own culture, they can, I mean, Ali may see this, they can say when, oh, Westerners, they just don't understand the Chinese. They go, well, hang on a minute. Yeah, at my university, we had this teacher and he really tried to, and he's teaching that everyone should really try to. So it requires patience and encouragement and being honest with students. Yeah, it's difficult, it's tricky, but keep going because it's worth it. Keep going.
Okay, keep going because it's worth it. Yeah, Pak Cliff, yeah?
That's
Yes.
exactly right. Yeah,
Okay.
that's exactly right.
Thank you, Pak Cliff. And then the next question will be for Pak Ali from Hasna. Literature is very important in language teaching. However, in fact, it is found that most and even almost all English language and literature education study programs in various universities in Indonesia teach literature courses with very few credit semester compared to linguistic courses. In your opinion, Pak Ali, why does this happen? And what do you think the way how to solve the problem? Well, yeah, Pak Ali.
Well, okay. Thank you, Belina. Yeah, Bu Hasna, I think that, we know people are, people do not like literature, if I may say. So frankly speaking, people do not like literature very much. So compared to the people in Western countries, I think that Pak Cliff and also Pak Marcus agree with me that, people in, especially the curriculum in Western countries, they push the students to read a lot of works of literature. So, but in Indonesia, especially in language and literature study program, the students are exposed to linguistics or language. And the percentage of the linguistics or language curriculum are much more than literature. Why is it so? So I believe that this is because of the, the course developer or the curriculum designer in the Ministry of Education, mostly because they were from language education, if I'm not mistaken. And this is according to one of my research and also my a private conversation with one of the curriculum designers. And I think that this is a kind of problematic thing. So to put this in another way is that our curriculum should be revised, and also people should also be aware that literature also very close to humanity issues, and also it can teach us about how the way we live together with other people, not only about the human character, but also it teaches language use, everyday use of language, because sometimes the language of literature is more authentic and contextual than our daily language. And sometimes we have a lot of different registers, and also some special expressions from literature. So I think that when the decision to put literature in a small scale in the curriculum, this is the wrong way. And compared to the curriculum in Western countries, I think that Indonesia is not that aware of this kind of thing. So thank you, Bu Hasna, for this question. And I think that we need to explore this kind of issues, and also these problematic issues in further detail about that. So that's all, Bulina, for the first question.
Yeah, I think the response to the first question has also addressed Hasna's next question on the plan to reduce the literature courses. So I think the answer will be similar to the previous one, right,
Yes.
Pak Ali?
Yes,
And
yes.
then, yeah, so I think we will go to the next question still from Hasna. Some people say that the language used in literature is not academic language. How to make them believe that the language used in literary works can be used to teach students in academic discipline? So it's about the language.
Well,
yeah, the language
maybe
used in the literary
Hasna
works.
is from literature department. Yeah, I'm sure that Hasna is from literature department. Yeah, as I have said earlier, that the language in literature is contextual, and sometimes we find so many different registers and so many different expressions from the characters and also from the narrator in the story. And how to put this into the language curriculum, sometimes I think that we have a lot of strategies, and also we have a lot of channels and ways to deal with this kind of language learning. Sometimes the teacher should also make use of literature here as one of the sources in order to learn language, especially about the styles, the registers, and also the different expressions. Because one expression could also be expressed in many different ways in literature. So I think that why do we not use literature as one of the tools to learn language? So I think that literature has a lot of examples of linguistics and also styles of language. That's my concern, Bu Hasna. Thank you so much for.
Thanks.
Question.
Great, Pak Ali. Now we move to the next question, and it seems it's still for Pak Ali from Natapon.
Okay.
And in his perspective, boys' love is wilding for nowadays. Yeah, is there any impact of boys' love in Asian society that shows us that boys' love are growing up more than we expect?
Okay, that's a very brilliant question, Mr. Natapon. I'm sure that you're from Thailand because your name sounds Thailand, yeah? So, the impact of boys' love series in Asian TVs nowadays give us evidences that, people in Asia are more dynamic. and they are open to the possibilities of gender diversity, especially in sexuality diversity. So, you know, today, so probably why Asia? So this is also my concern and my question, why Asia? So Asia is a very exotic and also very mysterious in my understanding. And when it comes to the term of diversity, especially in sexuality, so it will be a kind of a special issue and also a kind of a reorientation and also the reimagination about gender. Because from time to time, if I'm not mistaken, you know, the problem of the gender troubles and also gender issues happen in Asia, especially in India and also in Thailand and also in Indonesia and also in some, you know, some democratic countries. So I think that people in Asia now are heading to democratic philosophy and also ideologies. So I think that they are now open about the possibilities of this kind of same-sex relationship. So I think that opposed to the Western people, Western countries, I think that Asia nowadays are more dynamic. I'm sorry, Pak Cliff and Pak Marcus, to say that. Yeah. So Asian countries are more dynamic in terms of the, you know, culture and also humanities and also some of the possibilities about the issues on the education and also culture. So I think that personally, I would like to say that this is a kind of, you know, the open-mindedness of the people in Asia. Thank you, Mr. Natapong.
Okay, it seems that the time for the question and answer session is up. Yeah, but I think we can address one more question, Pak Ali. Yeah, maybe you can answer it short. Yeah.
Okay.
So I think, yeah, there is one last question from Andrew. I want to ask about comics or mangas. Are they literature? It is confusing because many people claim that comics are literature and many people think it is an art.
Okay.
So yeah, that is the question.
Well, all right. Thank you, Andrew, for the question. You know, comic is literature. So when we say about stories, comic has story and it has the flow of the story. So it can be approached using the theories of narratologies. So of course that when it has the flow of the story, just like you know, the movement of the story, the characters, the conflicts, something like that. So of course that it has narratology. So this is story, and of course that this is literature. Yeah, so this is my short answer, but I think that you may find some more sources about this kind of answer, because nowadays I think that literature is not only, you know, addressed to novel, drama, poems, yeah, but we can also include films, we can also include TV series, we can also include comics, yeah, even in something like folk tales and also folk literature. I think that they are literature. So comics is literature. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Okay, thank you, Pak Ali, for the explanation.
Okay, you're welcome.
So yeah, Pak Cliff, it seems it is not a question, but there is one message addressing to you, and it is from Bu Kanya, one of our lecturers, and it seems that she was one of your students back then in Coventry.
Yeah,
maybe.
And survived. Yeah.
And she experienced, or is it the method or the strategy by herself?
Yeah. So, I mean, it might be that Kanya is now emotionally scarred for life and, you know, has nightmares. But yeah, it was it was around about that time that many of these thoughts that I've been having about teaching in an internationalized cross-cultural context began to take shape in my mind. So, you know, Kenya is very much of that era. You know, we're beginning to work across disciplines as well as across cultures. And because, yeah, I mean, design is, there are lots of things that are common about all design disciplines: creativity, imagination, generating ideas, innovation. But they are, you know, they do have different perspectives when you become a specialist. And the advantage is that students, as well as benefiting from exposure to other cultures, as Ali says, you know, I find Asian cultures, frankly, far more interesting than Western cultures, much richer, longer history. As well as benefiting culturally, they also benefit by understanding something of each other's specialisms, because increasingly designers are becoming communicators. They have to understand, how do you communicate the needs of a client, understand the needs of the people you're designing for, consumers, users, patients, even animals, climate. How do you understand the needs of manufacturers, the limitations? So above all, I think, yeah, designers design, but above all, their biggest challenge is understanding people and different perspectives. And that has been the key focus of my teaching is, okay, let's try and deliver that. Yeah, I can train someone to be a product designer, but it's more important that I train them to understand people and to communicate and to close intellectual, cultural, political differences. You know, if I can do that, then I can send them into the world like a grandfather. I go, okay, off you go. Put this stuff into action. So it's interesting, because I've been reading Kanya's notes, that she is, you know, trying to continue that. And that's all one can hope. As a teacher, we just hope our students become better than we are. That, if I'm honest. So, you know, that it's lovely to see. It's nice to have that sort of direct feedback. Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you very much, Pak Ali, Pak Cliff. We already have a very wonderful session in this second session with such a great talk, yeah, in literature and also design. But unfortunately, we have to end our discussion. We come up to the end of our session, and thank you very much for greatly addressing these two interesting topics from Pak Ali and also Pak Cliff. And on behalf of Faculty of Languages and Arts, we would like to present token of appreciation for Pak Cliff. Here it is.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm honored.
And also for Pak Ali, this is a token of appreciation from us.
Thank you very much.
From the
Honored
Faculty of Languages and Arts.
Thank you.
Okay, and once again, thank you for joining us, for joining in our International Conference on Language and Culture, ICLC 20 and 21. So hopefully what we get from Pak Ali and also Pak Cliff will be very beneficial for us. And yeah, thank you very much. So to end this session, I will give this event to the committee or to the Master of Ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the moderator, Mr. Lutfi and Mrs. Lina, for guiding the discussion today. Also, thank you for the speakers, Mr. Marcus Scherble, Mrs. Felicia Nuradi, Mr. Cliff David Hilton, and Mr. Ali Mustafa, who sharing for all of the participants today, and also all participants, also committee who have made this ICLC 2021 success event. Hopefully the material that has been presented can be useful for all of us. And for the participants, we want you to fill the attendance link, which will be sent by the committee via the message box. I think I can see it. At this Zoom meeting, you can fill the attendance link. And for the closing, I'm Lina Novitasari as Master of Ceremony today. I'm sorry if I have a mistake. See you on the next ICLC event. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Pak Cliff, Pak Markus, Bu Felicia. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam, Bu.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you.
Terima kasih Bu Sis.
Sami.
Ali,
Thank you
may I
so
ask a
much,
question?
Clive.
Sorry?
Have a great weekend.
Weekend, yeah. Yeah. I will, Lina, I will. Yeah, thank you very much. That was really lovely. That was I learned a lot, and that's always a good thing, isn't it? To learn, you know, you must always keep learning.
Yes.
And I love the range of subjects. I think it was a very diverse conference, and I found myself thinking of all kinds of questions. All the speakers are talking. Oh, I must ask this. I must ask this. So you have stimulated my mind into new avenues of interest, which is, I guess, how it should be. Thank you to all of you for inviting me to be part of this, and it's been fantastic.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I also got a lot of inspiration from you.
Well, thank you very much. Ali, I have a question for you. Do you sense, you know, in the world as it is at the moment, where political uncertainties and the rise of the right, do you sense that the kind of liberalism and the acceptance that you've been describing is under threat? Do you think, you know, that we're in a moment where everything seems kind of great, but on the horizon it may well be that, you know, changes in regime and politics and assertions of national aggression may make that kind of picture a bit difficult? Do you sense that?
I think so. You know, everything sounds political here in Asia. So I think that because Asia is now heading toward the democratic vision, so I think that we open to different possibilities, and of course that we accept the diversities, especially this is the color and also our rooted philosophy for many years here in Asia, especially in Indonesia. I think that we appreciate the diversity, and also we also, you know, frankly speaking, we are friendly. You know, we are friendly. Yeah, I think that we love to live together with other people. So this is a kind of good sides of the openness and also the acceptance. So I think that in terms of the political and also the ideological visions, so this kind of openness will also open some other consequences. So probably I think that it depends so much on the you know, every country's regulation here in Asia.
Yeah.
So I'm sure that they hold their you know, their special way in order to regulate this kind of vision and also point of view about the diversity.
Yeah, very insightful. Yeah, I really enjoyed your presentation, Ali. I think it was thought-provoking, you know, and those are the best kinds, aren't they?
Yes, and indeed, he is a provocator, Pak Cliff.
No.
Yeah. Well, I think it's better to be, people to react one way or another, either positively or negative, than just to ignore it. I think that, it's best, either way is better than being ignored, isn't it? So I think, yeah, keep doing what you're doing.
In literature, possibility will be very interesting. So as this is a kind of research interest or something like that. So in social and also humanity studies, I think that this kind of issues will be blooming for the next couple of years.
Yeah.
Especially in this kind of pandemic situation.
Oh yeah, I think so. And I think the nature of your field is that at some level it represents an extreme. I could say, not that I am, but a conservative position might be, God, this is an extreme, and people, in my experience, are frightened of extremes. So I think, okay, well, if we've reached a level of tolerance here, then there are valuable lessons that we can take from that elsewhere in other aspects of society and culture. And I think very often that's how pioneering works, is that it does advance a particular cause or awareness, but actually it shows how other contentious topics can be kind of assimilated and absorbed into the mainstream, and to the point where you think, okay, what's the problem? What's the problem? Normal. And I think you made a point, it was almost a kind of throwaway line, about the current debates surrounding trans people, especially in the West. They're getting very exercised about trans people in sport, and they kind of go, well, this gives them an unfair advantage. And you think, well, are we talking about the right thing in terms of advantage? Shouldn't we be talking about why not create a space for them and embrace the difference? That's the thing, isn't it? But let's just embrace the difference. So, philosophically, I find myself, you, Marcus, aligning myself with some of the thoughts, insights, and the kind of tolerance that you're offering as a model for understanding that we need to hear more about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good. And I haven't even had breakfast yet. So
take your time.
See, look, I have my coffee cup.
Oh, okay.
I have my coffee cup, but it's empty. So
So you need to take another one?
3. I need.
Oh,
Nina, I tell you, anyone who knows me, I am a coffee addict.
oh my God. So the next will be your third one, or the next will be your fourth one?
Yeah, it's good, isn't it?
Okay. So
yeah, I like coffee. Yeah.
Thank you, Pak Cliff, Pak Ali. So how if you try to make a collaboration between literature and design?
Hey, good idea.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Maybe by sending emails and then continue the project, combine literature and design.
Yeah.
Because Pak Cliff also deals a lot with cultures. Cultures and CCU thing, cross-cultural understanding. And Pak Ali, you also share the same, the same knowledge on Chinese. That will be great, Pak Ali and Pak Cliff.
Yeah, I'm very keen to collaborate. I am a collaborative animal. That's kind of what I do. Yeah. So collaboration, definitely. Yeah. Do you have, Lena? Do you have my email address? Do you have my email contact details?
Yes, I do have it.
Yeah. So please pass them on.
From your
CV. I'd be definitely. I'd be happy to, at least talk. With anyone. So.
So I will share your contact to Pak Ali. Just if he needed, yeah, if he needs it.
I don't mind.
Okay,
Yeah, anyway.
okay.
Yeah.
Okay,
That
yeah,
would be great.
thank you.
That would be great.
Thank you, Pak Cliff, Pak Ali, for this wonderful afternoon. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
So
thank you
once
so much,
again,
Pak Cliff.
yeah,
So
once again,
how should I address you, Pak Cliff? Clive or Cliff?
Cliff,
Sorry.
Cliff.
It is Clive.
Oh,
It is,
Clive.
yeah, Clive.
Sorry.
That's okay. I mean,
yeah.
I'm used to it. Even the French call me Clive.
Okay.
You know, I go, okay. I don't mind. It's okay.
Yeah.
I know who you
I
mean.
should have asked you earlier because what I know it's Cliff. So yeah, from the beginning of this session, I mentioned it Cliff. So
It's okay.
I'm so sorry, Pak Clive.
No, it's okay.
Yeah. So
Yeah, it's okay.
I remember Whitney Houston's producer, Clive Davis.
Clive Davis. That's
Clive
right. Yeah. Clive.
Clive Davis, yeah.
Yeah. In the UK, well, in England, Clive is actually it's a very, very old name. You know, it's not very popular. You know, there aren't many of us about, and people think it's an old man's name because it's people of my generation, Clive. But I like it. I mean, I think we all like our own name, but I like it because it is not so common, and it is a bit unusual, and people tend to remember it. You know, if you've got a name like, I don't know, Steve or David, or
yes,
millions of Stevens and David, but Clive, Clive. Which
except
one?
With Cliff, except with Cliff.
Cliff. Yeah, okay. But who the hell was Cliff? He was that idiot that gave a talk at the conference.
Okay, well, so have wonderful weekends, everyone. Yeah, see ya.
Thank you very much, Tim. I'll say bye-bye now. Thank you very much.